April 26th, 2013, from the stylish high-tech above-ground studios of Ribbit Media in Providence, Rhode Island, this is NewsUndies. For April 26, 2013, this is NewsUndies, all the news that shouldn't be news. I'm Paul Torville with these headlines. Security software shouldn't be that stupid. How stupid? Identifying basic, and I mean basic, as in upon which it is based, basic operating system files, real operating system files, not fake ones put there by the malware, as malware, and quarantining them, essentially bricking the PC. This is a real thing. I'm so glad I don't run Windows. Dear news media, epicenter does not mean center. The epicenter of an event is the point on the surface of a solid closest to an event that takes place under the surface. Alex Jones, long history of lunosity. Look him up on the YouTubes. If he were merely crazy, I'd feel safer. Free market fans less likely to think science is valid. Telling. Bombing suspect awake, responsive. No, the other one. Suspect 1 is still dead. Dear news media, decimate does not mean devastate. Decimate means, quote, to reduce by 1/10, end quote. Will Kim Kardashian get paid to lose weight? CNN manhunt coverage, a big mistake, followed by 2 days of on-scene reporters telling us, I don't know. Jennifer Lawrence has a new haircut. Stocks plunge. Excel is hard. Adding is hard. Crashing global economies is easy. McDonald's dollar menu may be a liability against profit. So sad. Ancient oil billionaire you've never heard of, dead. HuffPo article about Microsoft response to Excel issue shows image of Bill Gates, who hasn't run the company since 2006. Comedy Central pulls plug on Future. Aww. Boston Massacre t-shirts. Good going, Nike! This week, we saw a substantial loss in stock values, which apparently resulted from a computer stock trading system reading a tweet from a hacked Twitter account belonging to the Associated Press. What are stocks? Well, here's Paul Torville to explain in a little segment we like to call Your Money. When you own stock in a company, you own a tiny piece of the company itself. Every share is a tiny fragment of ownership. In the old days, stock trading was slow and costly, so stock prices rarely moved much. People normally made money from holding on to stocks for a long time and earning dividends, a portion of the company's profits divided by the number of outstanding shares. As electronic trading became a possibility, trading became faster and cheaper, making it possible for ordinary people to trade in real time. This changed the way people made money in the stock market. The goal became to buy low and sell high, rather than hold on to shares and live off the interest. It also introduced wild volatility into the market and increased the risk to investors and companies alike. Nowadays, people depend directly on bundles of stocks to provide for their retirement. This always seemed like a recipe for disaster to me, and in 2008, we found out why. I'm Paul Torville. And this was Your Money. Good to know. Stick around. Coming up next, Pat Robertson's sound problem, your metal endoskeleton is showing, and life-altering gases from your TV.
It can be hard to think rationally when a loved one passes away. This can be especially true in the event of untimely death or when religious or cultural traditions demand quick interment of remains. Blue and Flatley Funeral Homes are here to ensure your needs are served in the most efficient and profitable way possible. At Blue and Flatley Funeral Homes, your money is very important to us, and we want to make sure we do everything you can afford to put your mind at ease. Blue and Flatley, profiting from the misery of others since 1883.
Justin Bieber. You remember Pat Robertson, right? The televangelist wacko who ran for president in 1988 and has blamed everything bad on sin without acknowledging that God created sin and is therefore ultimately responsible for everything? That douchebag. Well, now old Pat has blamed the Boston Marathon bombing on, wait for it, Islam. Yeah. Surprisingly enough, he didn't explicitly blame homosexuals and liberals, which is his threadbare SOP. Still, listen, Pat, you're not helping. Please, hurry up and die of old age. Ann Coulter, the tall, skinny, and acerbic abbot to Glenn Beck's pudgy, frothing crybaby Costello, has now come out saying that the widow of Boston bombing suspect Tamerlan Tsarnaev should be jailed for her fashion choices, specifically her decision to wear a hijab. Really? Is Ann Coulter made primarily from biological material, or is she merely a coldly efficient offending machine? Here are Pig and Sheep with their thoughts.
I don't know what biomedical terminal is, but I know Ann Coulter is smart and pretty, and she absolutely loves baby Jesus. Amen! Woo! Ann Coulter is entitled to her opinion, and Rupert Murdoch is entitled to broadcast it if he sees fit. I think she's about as wrong as she can be without invoking fairies and lobbing sarin gas canisters everywhere she goes, but yeah, she's entitled to her opinion. Having said that, I'm pretty sure she's a cyborg.
That's what Pig and Sheep think. What are your thoughts? Email them to ovcomments@newsundies.com. A column in the modern standard of journalistic excellence WorldNet Daily explains quite plainly that porn somehow emits goo of some sort that gives you the gaze. Professor Judith Reisman of Liberty University, that immutable vortex of intellectual entropy, states homosexuality arises from what she calls erototoxins, which she says are mind-altering chemicals. She stated that these toxins are somehow emitted through pornography. Wait a second. No one has managed to make smell-o-vision or feel-around a viable medium for entertainment, but somehow porn makes otherwise inert video equipment emit gay gas? She cited a lecture which made no valid points except that porn is a $100 billion a year industry. That sounds about right. People actually pay to be educated by loons like this at Liberty University. And that makes baby Jesus rich! Stay tuned. Still to come, Witherspoon, there is no spoon, only Zool, NFL Fashion Week, and something fishy in China.
Have you been injured in an accident, or can you pretend to have been? If so, we may be entitled to 40% of any settlement you receive. We're the law offices of Angry, Bitter, Vindictive, and Rosenblatt, and we've spent over half a century profiting from the pain and suffering of people who, in some cases, didn't even know they were suffering or in pain. At Angry, Bitter, Vindictive, and Rosenblatt, our attorneys have the skills and experience necessary to turn almost any activity into billable hours, and that means you can pay us more. Angry, Bitter, Vindictive, and Rosenblatt, specializing in personal injury, family law, product liability claims, and almost any other area where emotion weighs more than evidence. Angry, Bitter, Vindictive, and Rosenblatt, getting richer off your mild discomfort since 1955.
Reese Witherspoon. And now it's time for Moose Weintraub and the Sports Half Minute.
Weintraub Sports Half Minute. It's a whole half minute of sports. 30 seconds of sports. Who's Weintraub Sports Half Minute?
This is your Sports Half Minute. I'm Moose Weintraub. The Jacksonville Jaguars get new uniforms. That is all. No, really.
Weintraub Sports Half Minute.
Thanks, Moose. Always a great report from Moose. A 39-year-old porn addict from China's southeastern Guangdong province attempted to recreate a scene he saw in an adult feature. He lovingly crammed a 20-inch live eel into his own bum. 39. Live eel. Bum. Never mind the mechanics of getting a living, squirming, slimy thing that doesn't particularly care to be in your bum into your bum. If the thing had just gone up there and croaked, that would have been bad enough. If you've ever seen a live eel and watched it for a couple of minutes, you may have realized they don't spend a lot of their time swimming backwards. This particular specimen decided to chew its way out of its new home. According to reports, when he realized something had gone horribly wrong with his foolproof plan, this guy drove himself to the hospital. If that isn't the mark of a guy with no friends. First, he puts an eel into his bum because... what, no one was there to talk him out of it? Then, he's got no one to call. He drives himself to the hospital with a live eel in his bum! At the hospital, doctors opened him up and found the eel, not in his large intestine, where it should have been. No. It was just spelunking around between the organs and mesenteries in a hypoxic fog. Fortunately for Eelman, doctors were able to patch him up, but alas, the story doesn't end there. Authorities want to talk to him about a little thing called animal cruelty. It never rains, but you put an eel in your bum. And finally, and I do mean finally, we all saw this coming, didn't we? Sir Mark Walport, the new chief scientist of the British government, has declared in no uncertain terms that homeopathy is nonsense. Obviously! You may be tempted to say, and you'd be tempted to be right, but Britain's National Health Service spends around £4 million a year on homeopathic treatments without a lick of scientific validation of its efficacy. Homeopathy, for the uninitiated, is based on the notion that highly diluted forms of compounds thought to be responsible for a malady can cure that malady. The more dilute the compound, the stronger the cure. Commonly marketed homeopathic remedies are so dilute that it is as close to a statistical certainty as you are likely to encounter that there is not one atom or molecule of the advertised substance in the preparation sold. That's okay, though, say the homeopaths, because the water used to dilute the curative agent has a, quote, memory, end quote, of having had the substance in it. If that's true, then the water also has a memory of passing through the bladder of Amido Avogadro, and being excreted through the sebaceous glands of Genghis Khan, and carrying all the trace chemicals those journeys entail. Certainly, all the water on Earth should have a memory of having carried practically every element and compound on Earth, and that, it seems to me, would muddle the likelihood of getting a desired effect. This is, of course, contrary to what everyone everywhere who knows anything at all about chemistry, physiology, or actual evidence-based medicine generally has observed. There is no documented and confirmed experimental evidence that homeopathy has any effect beyond the placebo effect. But the Prince of Wales buys it, and we all know how smart he is, so why the hell not? It's only money. Well, that's all for this edition of NewsUndies. If you see news that shouldn't be news, you can submit your story tips online at newsundies.com. NewsUndies is a weekly show. We'll be back on Friday, May 3rd with fresh undies. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, ignore us on MySpace, tell your friends, and buy NewsUndies Kitsch. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at NewsUndies, until next time, I'm Paul Torville. After that, I might be home brewing homeopathic beer. No. Because that would be dumb.